Have you ever felt something twice? Once for you and once for the person standing next to you. You walk into the office lounge. Nothing seems off. The coffee's brewing. Two colleagues chat about their weekend. But within seconds, your chest tightens. You realize without anyone telling you that the pair near the window argued this morning, that one of them is quietly holding it together, and that the whole room is performing normal. And by the time you sit down, their tension has moved into you, and you drag it into your next meeting as if it were your own. Most people would call that being too sensitive. They'd tell you to grow a thicker skin. But what you actually have isn't thin skin. It's a wide open receiver. Your brain runs a kind of processing most people can't access. The ability to take in, decode, and interpret the emotional signals of everyone around you. Live automatically without being asked. And the trouble is, this ability bills you for every single use. Nothing about it is free. Every moment of tuning in charges your own nervous system, which means the very thing that makes you brilliant at people is exactly what leaves you drained at the end of the day. Let's talk about what that intelligence really is, the 10 ways it shows up, and how to stop it from quietly taking everything you have. First, let's put a proper name on it. Being an empath sounds like magic, but what's actually happening in your head is measurable science. The psychologist William Ickes, who studied this for decades at the University of Texas, called it empathic accuracy, the real, repeatable ability to correctly infer what another person is thinking and feeling, moment to moment, using nothing but their tone, their words, and their body language. Most people rank somewhere in the middle on this. And then there are people like you, whose guesses land with uncomfortable precision. To pull that off, your brain runs two heavy tasks at the same time, feeling a version of what the other person feels, and correctly labeling that feeling. Emotion plus decoding, running in parallel all day. That's a genuine cognitive strength. It just happens to use you as the hardware. So how does someone else's emotion actually get inside you? Researchers Elaine Hatfield, John Cacioppo, and Richard Rapson documented a process called emotional contagion. When you're near a person, your body automatically copies them. Their expressions, their posture, their breathing, the strain in their voice. It isn't a choice. In lab studies, people mirror another person's face within a fraction of a second, faster than thought can even begin. And here's the catch. When your face and body imitate an emotion, your brain reads your own body and concludes you must be feeling it. You don't observe their sadness. You catch it, like catching a cold. And it goes deeper than the surface. The neuroscientist Tanya Singer put people in brain scanners and showed them someone in pain. What activated wasn't some abstract reasoning region. It was the anterior insula and the anterior cingulate cortex, parts of the brain's own pain network. When you feel for someone suffering, your brain processes it through the exact circuitry it uses for your own suffering. Empathic pain isn't a metaphor. It's a real experience of pain, running on your equipment. Your nervous system works like a tuning fork. When something strikes it, it doesn't stop and ask whether it wants to vibrate. It just vibrates. And here's the part you need to hear clearly. You were built this way. Hatfield's team built a scale measuring how easily people catch emotions, and the spread is enormous. Some nervous systems come with thick insulation. Yours came with almost none. Nobody broke you. Nothing went wrong. You simply arrived with the receiver turned all the way up, and you've been running on that setting ever since. So let's look at what that setting produces. Here are the 10 signs. First, you read the weather of a room before a word is spoken. You walk into a meeting or a dinner, and your body reports the forecast instantly. This is your contagion system, sampling dozens of tiny signals at once and folding them into one feeling. The catch is that you can never enter a room neutrally. Other people get to arrive. You get to arrive and absorb. Second, strangers hand you their secrets. The woman beside you on a flight tells you about her divorce. A coworker you barely know admits he's terrified of losing his job. You didn't ask, but people can sense, below the level of language, that you're actually receiving them. And being genuinely received is so rare, they pour themselves into you the moment they feel it. The cost is that you become a free confessional for people who never once ask how you're doing. Third, other people's emotions stay long after their owners leave. A coworker panics before a presentation, and her panic sits in your stomach until lunch, long after she's moved on. The emotion entered you through mimicry, but nobody told your nervous system when to let it go. She got closure. You got the leftovers. And that leaves a body that's constantly digesting feelings that were never yours to digest. Fourth, you feel other people's stress physically. After an afternoon with an anxious friend, your shoulders ache. After a tense family gathering, you get a headache. Because empathy runs on your pain and stress circuitry, other people's distress produces real output in you, real cortisol, real tension, real fatigue. You can end a day in which nothing bad happened to you feeling like everything did. Fifth, you manage the temperature of every room. You crack the joke that cuts the tension. You soften your voice when someone bristles. You change the subject right before an argument ignites. The sociologist Arlie Hochschild called this emotional labor, the real, effortful work of managing feelings, usually invisible and usually unpaid. You do it automatically, everywhere, for everyone. And the cost is that people experience your presence as easy without ever realizing how hard you're working to make it feel that way. Sixth, you can't tolerate cruelty, even fictional. Humiliation scenes in movies make you leave the room. Certain news stories sit in your chest for days. Other people watch suffering. You undergo it because your brain doesn't fully separate witnessing pain from experiencing it. Seventh, conflict anywhere near you feels like conflict with you. Two coworkers argue across the office, and your heart rate jumps as if your own name were called. A couple fights at the next table and you lose your appetite. Their fight is being simulated inside your body in real time. So you start steering your whole life around friction. Not because you're weak, but because for you, every nearby fight is a fight you're in. Eighth, you can no longer tell which feelings are yours. You wake up fine. By evening, you're heavy, irritable, sad, and when you trace it back, the sadness arrived at 2 p.m. when your friend called. That's the identity blur of high contagion. When emotions flow in from outside constantly, the line between your inner weather and everyone else's starts to dissolve, which means you can spend years treating imported feelings as personal problems, searching yourself for the source of a pain that never started in you. Ninth, you can't rest while someone near you is hurting. Everyone else at the table is enjoying dinner. You've noticed one person has gone quiet, and now the whole meal is about monitoring them. Their unresolved pain registers in you as an open alarm, and your system refuses to power down while an alarm is ringing. So your rest is held hostage by the least okay person in the room. And 10th, you need solitude like medicine, and you feel guilty every time you take it. After enough exposure, you crave being alone the way someone underwater craves air. It's the only state where nothing new is entering you. But the second you take it, guilt shows up. Because somewhere out there, someone might need you. Even your recovery gets contaminated by the sensitivity you're recovering from. Now, look at what all 10 add up to, because there's a harsh paradox buried in them. You regulate everyone's emotional weather, and nobody ever checks yours. You understand everyone, and almost no one understands you, because you're so busy receiving that you never transmit. The tuning fork spends its whole life sounding other people's notes and never gets played a note of its own. And here's the harder truth. Not all of that endless scanning is kindness. Some of it is fear. Part of you watches every room because part of you believes that if you ever stop watching, something will go wrong, and it will be your fault. What you call caring is sometimes surveillance you don't know how to end. That doesn't make you fake. It makes you tired, and you deserve to know the difference. So what's the way out? It is not caring less. You can't switch this off any more than someone with perfect pitch can choose to stop hearing an out-of-tune piano. The note arrives whether you want it or not. Your goal isn't to feel less, it's to change what happens after you feel. And here, the science gives us something remarkable. Tanya Singer and her colleague Olga Klemecki ran an experiment. When they trained one group in empathy, deliberately feeling someone suffering with them, negative emotion increased. Their brains lit up in pain regions. Sharing suffering, it turns out, just creates more suffering. But when the same people were trained in something different, compassion, caring for the person's suffering and wishing them well without drowning in it. Everything reversed. Negative emotion dropped. Brain networks tied to warmth and caregiving switched on. Same person, same suffering, completely different internal result. Your problem was never that you feel too much. It's that you've been running the expensive program when a sustainable one exists. So here are 3 principles to make the shift. Principle 1. Feel for, not with. When someone's pain arrives, notice the difference between drowning beside them and standing on the shore, warm and steady, reaching out a hand. Feeling with means their panic becomes your panic, and now there are 2 panicking people and 0 helpers. Feeling for means you register the pain, care about it deeply, and stay resourced enough to actually help. In practice, when you catch yourself sinking into someone's emotion, silently shift your inner sentence from, "This is unbearable," to, "I hope you find your way through this." That small move takes you out of their pain network and into your caring network. It's not colder, it's stronger. Principle 2. Name the owner. Several times a day, especially when your mood shifts suddenly, ask one question. Whose is this? Trace the feeling back to its point of entry. Was I sad before that phone call, or did the sadness arrive with it? If the feeling has an owner and the owner isn't you, you're allowed to notice it without adopting it. Say it plainly. This is her fear. I felt it. It isn't mine to carry home. You aren't abandoning anyone by returning what belongs to them. A tuning fork can notice a vibration and still let it fade. Principle 3. Ration the intake. Your receiving capacity isn't infinite, and pretending it is has been the most expensive lie of your life. Treat exposure like a budget. Before draining situations, decide in advance how long you'll stay. Schedule real solitude. Not scrolling, not background television, but genuine quiet where nothing new enters. And take it without apologizing. The guilt will show up. Let it. Guilt is just the old program insisting you owe everyone unlimited access. You don't. Even the most powerful receiver in the world has to power down in order to keep receiving. And when you practice these 3 principles, something quietly extraordinary happens. Your sensitivity doesn't shrink. It matures. You stop being a tuning fork at the mercy of every sound in the building and become an instrument that chooses its note. You'll still walk into rooms and know the weather, but now you'll decide whether to step into the storm, and you'll arrive warm instead of soaked. The people around you won't lose your understanding. They'll finally get the durable version of it, the version that doesn't collapse. Over 250 years ago, the philosopher Adam Smith opened his book, The Theory of Moral Sentiments, with an observation about human nature, that we come to feel what another person feels through imagination, placing ourselves in their situation and experiencing a version of their suffering in our own bodies. He considered this the foundation of all human morality, which means the thing that exhausts you isn't a glitch in your design, it's the design itself, the oldest, deepest tool human beings have for holding each other. You just received an unusually powerful copy, and no one ever handed you the manual. So of the 10 signs we walked through, which one hit you the hardest? If you found yourself in this, remember, you are not too much, you are not broken, and you are not alone. Your sensitivity was never your weakness. It just never came with instructions. Subscribe to MindToAct for more psychology that turns the traits you were told were flaws into the strengths the world needs.